This is my D&D 3.5 edition framework. As you can see, we've got a table set up here with a current adventure layout. We've got trays for the various players. The trays include a character sheet, the set of dice for that player in a nice little basket so that they don't go flying all over the place, and a section for hit point tokens which can be transferred to the hits when a character takes hits. In addition, each player that is a magic user has a table full of their spell cards. For characters that memorize spells, they can duplicate these cards and bring them over to their character sheet so that they know which spells they still have available. For those characters who do not memorize spells, they can just use them for reference. Now, my framework adds a bunch of macros for each player, which can be seen when I switch to either the GM or a player. The GM sees all of the macros at once, while the players only see their respective macros. Originally, to save screen space, I put all the macros in the same area of screen. Since each player would only see theirs, that wasn't a problem. However, due to a bug in TableTop Simulator, if two macro buttons share the same space, even if one is visible and the other is not, the buttons do not work correctly. So I ended up using this mechanism where each player has only a small section of macros, but they have the up and down arrow to flip through pages of various macros to be able to encompass them all using only a small area of the screen. When clicked, the macros make the appropriate rolls, and the results are shown in the chat window. The macros do actually toss dice, so if we roll the dice here, you can see that the appropriate player's dice was tossed, and whatever was rolled gets shown on the chat window. It is not just a random number generator. Now, for our campaign, I have used some characters that I brought into Unity and created asset bundles to bring our characters to life. As you can see right now, they are in their idle phase, but if I pick them up and move them around, you can see that the walk gets animated, similar to the characters that come with TableTop Simulator. And the characters each have a idle state, ready state, death state, and the previously indicated walking state. And finally, they also have an attack state. Now, those can all be tripped directly from the character, but I have actually wired it directly into these macros. So, for example, when a character rolls initiative, he's getting ready for combat, so he immediately goes into the ready stance. If the character then attacks, it automatically triggers the animation for attack. Okay, so let's meet the party. We've already shown Rurid over here. He's our dwarven cleric. Then we have our human fighter Red over here. You can see Red's dice flying in the background around there. Then we have Oz, our forestkin goblin. And we've got Ariel, our human mage. And lastly, we've got Angel or Warlock. And that's the party. Now, my framework works on the Tabletop Simulator component, but it also has a web server component. Instead of defining all those macros within Tabletop Simulator in the scripting, which would make it a real pain in the butt to edit, modify, I've decided to put all of that outside of Tabletop Simulator and use the Tabletop Simulator web request to get it from my web server. That means all of the pages that we saw for the various characters are defined on my web server, and I can very easily edit them. If I click on a character's page, we can see the different macros are defined. The page up and page down button is there. I can make a modification here, and if we're already running Tabletop Simulator, all I need to do is navigate a page up or down on any character, and it will immediately pick up the new information with the new modifier. So for example, if I needed to change some modifier from a +1 to a +2, very easy. Even while Tabletop Simulator is running, I can go in, edit the configuration, and then just do a page up on one of the characters, page down, and the new setting will get picked up. The file is a very simple XML file. It basically defines the character that's using that macro, what kind of an action to take, which is typically die roll, but I do have also no skill for trying to roll skills that you're not trained in. Text that describes what the skill is, and then the animation, if there is one appropriate. Animations in the range of 1 to 99 are your trigger animations, and 100 and 1 and on is the looping ones. So this way you can select either a looping animation or a trigger animation. And then you can define a number of dice modifiers and info for each of the die rolls that macro is to make. So in here, I've got one d20 roll, adds 4, and this is what is displayed along with that roll. But I've got other attacks that, for example, perform a d20 attack +4, and then also rolls damage with 2 different d6s. Yeah, so very easy to modify. A little bit more difficult to set up because you need the web server, but most people running Windows already have the IIS server available, so it's not that difficult.